My Precision Matthews PM1236. She has hit 4,000 hours. My warranty runs out in September. So let's take a look at it and let's talk about the good, all the good about this lathe and a few little nuisances. Let's take a real good look at her. I ran the living snot out of this lathe for the first 20 months I had it. Then I was diagnosed terminal and I slowed down a little bit. But let's take a decent look at her. I keep the plastic on the front. I've never taken the plastic off. All the paint's missing on the drip tray, chip pan, whatever you want to call it. But for the most part, the rest of the paint on it looks great. So let's talk about this lathe. We'll talk about the good and we'll talk about the couple little nuisances. And she's been a fantastic lathe. We'll walk over and take a look at my go-to tooling. So this is what I have loaded up. These are the tools I regularly reach for. I rarely have to reach for anything else or load anything else up. So right here you got it. Everyday go-to tooling right there. We do a lot of threading on this lathe. A lot of threading. I did threading all last week. But that's the tooling I use on the lathe every day. Hello everybody. Anybody new to my channel, my name is Jeff and welcome to Home Machinist. This is my awesome little machine shop. So I decided to do a 4,000 hour review on my lathe and talk about all the good and the few little nuisances I've experienced with this lathe over the last 3 years. My warranty runs out in September, a couple months. And I'm going to put this out there right now. This is a fantastic lathe. Best $5,000 I've ever spent on a machine tool. This lathe is insanely accurate. It's as accurate as any engine lathe, any of the big name brand lathes that I've worked on in my tool and die career. This is as accurate as any of them. And it's just a small little 12 by 36. So that said, working within capacity, I better throw that in there. Working within the lathe's capacity, I can do just as the highest quality work on this lathe that I've ever been able to produce on any large closing engine lathe. I did my tool and die apprenticeship, started in 1994, and the two lathes that I did all my lathe work on back then were closings. And awesome lathes, big, heavy lathes. This is not a big, huge, heavy engine lathe. It is what it is. And so anyways, you gotta accept this lathe for what it is. A 12 by 36, it weighs 1,300 pounds. I am very familiar with all the big engine lathes out there. I've done a lot of time on most of them. And again, I'm gonna say this, best $5,000 I could have spent on machine tools right here. This thing has not let me down. It's done its job absolutely superb. So we're going to start off talking about the few nuisances I've experienced with this lathe over almost 3 years of ownership. The first one is the loud headstock. The gears are a little loud in it, to be expected, $5,000. And it has a gear knock in it. It's associated with the A selection here. All 3 speeds in the A selection. So let me show you the gear knock. Okay, let me demonstrate the gear knock for you. I actually have the handle positioned out of the detent right now, so this is it without the knock. You don't hear anything. Now watch. So we move this hand all the way into position till the detent locks. Now we have a slight over travel of the gear. Now we'll have a knock. Okay. So I've had that since I got the lathe. I ran the lathe for a long time, didn't really care about that. I had taken the top cover off here. I've changed the headstock oil multiple times, and I could see there was nothing happening in there to any of the gears. It was just a slight little mark on one gear. No debris in the oil, nothing. The oil was extremely clean. The headstock, the bottom of it was extremely clean. I've heard other people talk about other lathes that people have gotten, and when they open up the headstock, metal debris in the bottom of it and dirt. Well, that wasn't the case with this lathe. This lathe was spotless clean inside, and that gear doesn't have any material being removed off of it. It's just wobbling a little bit. Well, not even wobbling. It's just over traveled and just touching the other gear. So all I do is move the A selection back just a little bit like so. That knock is gone. And that's that. Another little nuisance. So there you go. The gear knock, not a big deal at all. We've worked around it. I will say this, with the 4-jaw chuck, that gear knock made an out of balance issue much worse than it is once I started pulling that lever back and reducing the travel with that gear. I've done videos where you can see the lathe moving out of balance with the 4-jaw. Most 4-jaw chucks have a slight out of balance tendency that goes along with 4-jaw, just because they tend to not be centered, you know, all the time. But if not all, just a lot. My 4-jaw had a little out of balance, and it's very, very slight. But with that gear knock, when that gear was knocking in there and rubbing, that out of balance was exasperated. It was compounded. Once I started pulling the lever back a little bit and taking that over travel out, that out of balance went away. So in some of my previous videos, you can see that out of balance, that's gone. It does no longer exist with the 4-jaw. So that's my biggest nuisance with this lathe. The second biggest nuisance, which really isn't again, it's just nothing major, is the oiler. Let's take a look at the oiler. So let's take a look at this oiler. It's on the driven gear, right here, for the shaft. That goes to the feed rate selections. Can't access it at all, so you have to take that bolt out, one down in this corner, there's one up in that corner. I leave this one up here in, because at this point you can pull the cover back and access the oiler. Right there is your oiler in there. Kind of hard to see, but it's right there. So that's kind of a pain in the butt, and my guess is this is going to prevent that from being oiled as often as it should be. So that's the oiler. So there's the oiler. Just not a big deal, but in my opinion, a lot of people will tend not to oil that oiler as often as it should be because of how hard it is to get to. So at some point I will put a hole in here and make it easier to access, but I've been taking the time just to remove the bolts and oil it once or twice a week, depending on how much I'm running it. And that's solved. But still, that oiler, hard to reach, definitely going to be something that people are probably going to neglect because it's so difficult to get to and takes a little effort to get to it. So that said, if you get one of these lathes, don't forget that oiler in there. And now let's take a look at the chip pan, drip tray, whatever you want to call it, the paint on it. Take a look. Let's take a look at the paint on the drip tray, chip tray, whatever you want to call it. So that paint started coming off really early in ownership. Actually, I guess it wasn't immediate. It was probably around that 1,000-hour mark or so, 2,000 hours, whatever. Somewhere up there, I just started noticing paint starting to be removed, starting to disappear. My guess is the surface wasn't prepped well, and you can see it's very thinly sprayed, probably one coat. So that's you know, it doesn't affect the lathe, but it just looks like crap. So quite a bit of paint coming off the drip pan. So that's just a cosmetic issue. It looks like crap. Is what it is. Definitely wasn't, the surface preparation wasn't done correctly, in my opinion. And it's very thinly sprayed, one coat. So that's most likely leads to what's going on there. Cosmetic issue, doesn't affect the lathe, but looks like crap. So anyways, now let's talk about a few other things. There's not a whole lot to say here. We're just going to talk about some of the things that go along with the lathe. Let's go to the micrometer stop and the clutch. Comes with a nice micrometer stop, and it seems to be a very high quality. I've never used it. I've never needed it. And that said, I've never used the clutch on the feed rod. I've never once had to use the clutch and the stop. So it has them. I'm sure they work just fine, and I've never even tested them. So it comes with a clutch on the feed rod, not the lead screw, just a feed rod, and it comes with the micrometer stop that I've never used. The steady and follow rest. Down here, I have them. Steady, follow. One of the bearings on the follow rest froze up when I first got it. And I just took one of the fingers out of the steady, replaced it, and went to town, used it that way ever since. And I called Precision Matthews one day, and we were talking about some things. And I brought this up, and he said, well, we'll get you another one, no big deal. And after I got off the phone with him, I started playing with the bearing, and it broke free. I couldn't believe it, because it was solid. I don't have a clue why it broke free all of a sudden. And it runs free as can be now. I never had to replace the finger. So that was a small little issue that popped up with the follow rest. Not a big deal, and it solved itself. So that said, follow rest work great. I've used both of them multiple times. They work just fine. I use a field gauge for setting them. Of course, anytime you have to use it, it's a pain in the butt to set them. But they work fantastic. The gap bed. When I first got the lathe, where the gap met the regular way, there was a little tight spot here. I talk about it in the 3,000 hour review, and it broke in rather quickly. And today there's no stiction there at all. My carriage is insanely smooth. I just impressed. There's so much about this lathe that just totally impresses me. It's just as smooth as glass. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just fantastic. Tailstock works great. Everything on this lathe works fantastic. The accuracy of the lathe is just insane. I just can't get over it. Every time I use it, it impresses me. If for some reason I use this lathe and I just can't believe it's as accurate as it is. It's that good. It truly is. And break in on the lathe, it broke in beautifully. I thought it had broke in pretty good by 3,000 hours, but now I'm sitting at 4. It's still getting better. It's gotten a lot better in the last 1,000 hours. Again, I ran the living snot out of this lathe for the first 20 months, and it broke in really well. Everything came together on it. Machine tools, anything mechanical can have bugs in it, break-in issues. So you got to understand, when you get a new lathe, if you don't run it as much as I ran this one, break-in's going to take a lot longer. I ran the living snot out of this thing, and it broke in fairly quickly, and it's just getting better. The foot brake works fantastic on it. I rarely use the foot brake. Most of the times I just hold my foot on it in case I need it. I do use it, but not often, because it slows down fast. And I see that as just something that you're going to wear out much faster if you use it constantly, when you don't need to use it constantly. So I use it under certain machining circumstances. We'll show you how good the foot brake works. I'll use the foot brake, or mostly just hold my foot on it in case. Foot brake works fantastic. It shuts down instantly. Feed gears. Let's talk about feed gears and the feed rates, threading rates. So there's 2 gears in the side of this lathe right here. I do 98% SAE threading in here. So, and mostly fine threading is what I do. So this lathe came with the 2 gears that are on it right now in place, which is mostly the fine threads. So I almost never have to change those gears, ever. I have a bag of change gears here that I've never used. I haven't used a single gear out of this bag since I got the lathe. The 2 current gears in there, all you do is swap positions, and you go to coarse SAE threading or fine SAE threading. I do mostly fine, so I never do anything but use the selector knobs. Set my feed rates, my threading, my pitch, TPIs, and that's it. So I almost never change those gears or touch anything in here. And if I do, it'll be mostly going to a coarser thread, and I just switch the gears around. That's all it is. You just switch their positions. So easy, convenient, awesome. The lathe threads like you wouldn't believe. I do a lot of threading on this lathe. I did chase threads all last week, and I can't tell you how many threads I chase on this lathe. A ton. And it is awesome. It does a fantastic job. It threads beautiful. So, just a quick 4,000 hour update on this lathe. It has done me nothing but good. It has not broke down. It has not left me sitting. Nothing major has popped up with it since those two little things when I first got it. You know, other than the three little nuisances. So I can honestly say this is the best $5,000 I've ever spent on a machine tool. This lathe purrs like a kitten, strong, lots of rigidity. You can do amazingly large cuts on this small lathe here. I've never used a lathe of this size in a career environment, a job environment, you know, ever before in my life. This is the first time. I've had a couple smaller lathes over the years, but they weren't anything but some lathes that I could just make something on, because I really didn't machine a lot when I had them. They were just so I could do something if I needed to. So this lathe has been a godsend. Absolutely precision, fantastic lathe. So there you go. Just a quick 4,000 hour update on this. And again, the last 10 months or so, I haven't put near the time on this lathe that I did the first 20 months or so. And September will be 3 years and the warranty runs out. And I don't think I'm going to have any problems whatsoever. And if I do, Precision Matthews will handle it on, you know, very quickly, fast. They take care of their people. I gotta apologize about that. My little battery issue just showed its face. And the camera quit, so I changed batteries, so here we are. But I'll do this real quick. I'm extremely happy with my lathe. My lathe has not done anything but impress me since I got it. Other than a few little nuisances. So everybody, I love you all very much. Please like, share, and subscribe my videos. Oop, got a little bug. And please like, share, and subscribe my videos. And we'll be back on doing more videos here soon. I got a little camera issue I gotta get past, and we'll be back doing videos. So please have a fantastic Please have a fantastic rest of your weekend and a fantastic work week coming up. And again, I love y'all, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Take care of yourselves.